in fact, also the freedom of will. And we've previously explained, what does it mean that you have freedom of will? Freedom of will is the power to even disobey Allah. That you have the capacity, the ability to decide for yourself whether you want to choose good or evil. And from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is that He has instilled within us the knowledge of what constitutes good and what constitutes evil. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Allah has inspired every spirit with what is evil, what is sinful, and what is righteous by nature. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided our spirits, meaning our spirit is programmed to recognize the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path of goodness. And so, freedom of will is that you, despite your knowledge of what is good, of what is evil, so what is righteous, what is wretched, you choose which of them you want to do. Freedom of will is that Allah will not force you to do any good. And freedom of will also implies that Allah will not stop you from committing any evil. And so, one should then wake up to this reality that only I can do the righteous deeds myself. I have to make that decision, meaning I have to use my freedom of will. Only I can prevent myself from the sins. Only I can restrain myself from performing evil deeds, because nobody else will restrain me. So use my free will to resist the evil deed. So that is just the consequence of freedom of will. That you have to do everything of your own volition. And that's why there's account. And so one of the powerful lessons that we can learn from what we're observing today, from these violent and horrific acts of really terrorism, these riots, is the power of the individual. The power of the individual. That freedom of will is so powerful that one person's heinous crime, the killing of 3 young girls, the impact it had on people, that it created upheaval within a nation. And so, such is the impact of freedom of will, that you can use it. One person and the impact of one individual, a person can create upheaval and uproar. Of course, we know the person was not Muslim, was not an immigrant, and there was much misinformation that was spread deliberately. What those who are deliberately causing a divide and a rift within this country are doing is another topic, but the actual individual's freedom of will that was exercised without coercion, the impact it had. And that is the power of the individual. Now the opposite applies as well, that one individual has the ability to impact an entire nation and create unity. That is also within the ability of the individual. One individual can create a rift, draw a line between communities. Yes, their action triggers a cascade of events. Yes, and also another individual's actions may also create a cascade of events that creates unity. And this is why a person should never think of their efforts as insignificant or small. Because the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق or طليق. That do not belittle any of your good deeds. Don't belittle any good deed, rather, not just yours. Don't belittle any good deed that you do or another person does, even if it means meeting your brother with a cheerful countenance, meaning with a cheerful face. To meet your brother looking happy, to meet your brother with a smile. Don't belittle it, because it actually goes a long way. Because some people, a frown in their face in the morning can spoil their day. And another person, a smile, or the same person, in fact, a smile in the morning may brighten their day. And this concept is taught to us in the seerah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that when he entered his home, he entered in a perpetual state of cheerfulness. Maybe the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam was carrying so much of the weight and pressure and stress of the da'wah and the constant attacks on him sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his companions, and the weight of the mission which is to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and save them from the hellfire. But the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam would not take the burden with him home. So the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, while his family of course carried that burden willfully and happily, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, even if he was, let's say, abused outside in the times of Mecca, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam would enter his home with a smile to make everybody feel comfortable, to make everybody feel at ease, which is a prophetic quality. So one should not, as we say, one should not belittle the efforts of one deed. And therefore, that is how powerful the individual is. It can be one word that is thrown out like that, cast into, like a stone that is cast into a crowd. It's going to hit somebody. A word that is said, maybe no attention is paid to it, or maybe it's said with the intent of malice. And this one word, one statement, again creates a cascade of events, or sparks, if you like, a cascade of events that may create violence, may create division. And another person can say one word that ends the violence. That is also possible. And so one should not forget or think little of themselves and the ability for them to actually make a positive change. Now, what's important to mention, as our Shaykh have taught us, is the reason behind these riots and the apparent grievances really started in the heavens. That we have to go back to the heavens, where this whole discourse regarding immigration and whites and blacks or Asians or Muslims, or it really is due, and it stems from the problem that most people face, which is they lack identity, is that they don't know what their true identity is. And the first person to demonstrate the impact of not knowing their identity was in fact Shaitan. Why? Because Shaitan said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to prostrate to Sayyidina Adam, he said, Ana khayrun min. I'm better than him. And so the irony was that he didn't have, while he said he's better, he didn't even know who he is or what he is. He didn't have a clear idea or clear indication as to what his identity is. That his identity is not what he's made of. He said, I'm better than him. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. So what did he do? He attributed value to a quality which Allah does not look at. and that is your body, your skin color, your wealth, your status, your rank in society. Allah does not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not value those things. But He valued it. Shaitan valued it. And that is a clear demonstration that he didn't know what his identity was. He didn't know who he was. And so he identified as the physical being that he is, that he's made of fire. Physical or energy, whichever you wanna call it. But really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put us here on earth. So the jinn, they're given their body. Their body is made of fire. Human beings are given a body. This body is made of clay, right? This is your suit. This is like we're not from here. As we've mentioned time and again, that we are our spirits. Our spirits have come from a heavenly realm and they're sitting a trial now in this dunya. And so you now have your space suit that you have on, right? If you go to a tailor, the tailor makes for you a suit. The suit isn't you. You are not the suit. Yes? And so the spirit is wearing this suit right now, which is the body. The spirit is also wearing the suit which is made of fire for the jinn. That's not who they are either, to sit the trial. And so what did Shaitan do? Shaitan looked at the suit that he was wearing and said, this is me. I'm better. You created me from fire. I'm bright. I'm white. Yes, I'm radiant. And he is made of clay. He's dark. He's inferior to me. And so this is the first demonstration of how the lack of identity, not knowing who you are,